All right, looks like we are live and we're good to go. Welcome back, everyone, to yet another Moonshire Monday. Thank you so much for joining. Really excited for today. We're going to be doing some pixel art, going to be working on some user requests, going to be showing off some other projects that I have been working on because last week someone in chat was asking me about Phaser, the game engine or the game framework. So there's this game engine called Phaser. What the heck? Oh my gosh, the site changed. It looks way different than I last saw. But anyway, Phaser is this, what? It's costs money? Is this the right site? The right site? Yeah, this is what I'm thinking of. Phaser is just this game framework for making web games, and it's been around for a long time, and it's getting a lot of popularity, and a lot of people use it. So I made a game in it back when I was in college. So it is from 10 years ago. So someone was asking about my Phaser game, and I actually got it up and posted. The game that I made back when I was in college, and it's online at chalicade.com/games/comet. So if you go to this URL, you can go ahead and, whoops, I can't make it any bigger. I wish I could. But that's the URL that I had this hosted at. And this is the game that I made back when I was in college. Phaser uses JavaScript, right? Yes, it does. And also, thank you everyone for being in chat. Thank you everyone for joining today for another Moonshire Monday. I'm starting off with this extra game that I made back when I was a kid. But thank you to Baron in Portugal and Rick and, let's see, Wolf is here, Feature 34, Robert, Mr. Banana, Rescue Squad. Thank you so much for being here. Morning. Thank you for joining the chat. And I'm going to show this game that I made. This is, again, a JavaScript game through Phaser, the game framework. And I made this game when I was in college. It was 10 years ago. So, and I made this when I was trying to figure out what engine do I want to use? What game framework do I want to start making games in? Because my whole life I had been making games in GameMaker, and I love GameMaker. I think it's great. But I wanted to kind of branch out into something more code-focused, which GameMaker does have GML, but I thought that making web games would be cool, so I tried making this game and just to experiment with it. And it was a really good experience. I think that making small games like this is a great way of kind of figuring out what's good and what's not, what you'll like. There you go. So my score was 36, and also this game is very BS because it's RNG basically. It gets so difficult at the end. Get 200. Good luck. After like point 20, after 20, it starts getting completely random, and there's literally no way to win. Sometimes you just like lose by default. But throughout all my streams, I always talk about how, like, when you're searching for an engine or framework to use, I always recommend make a small game with it just to get a feel for it. Like, just to see if it's something that you'd be interested in. And that's what I did with Phaser. I thought that Phaser looked cool. I want to try it out and see if I like it. And I think Phaser as a framework is okay, but JavaScript is not for me. I don't really like JavaScript personally, so I wanted to switch to something different. But I can still make Love 2D games. Oh, no, I missed. I got 36 again. I'm doomed. I'm doomed to this 36 curse. Now make a film and remake another game of this, of Comet. That'd be interesting. So another thing, while I was working on porting this game to work on my Azure server. Oh no, the metadata is broken on this song. Mario Galaxy Beach Bowl. Why did that happen? Here, let's take a look. We can go over into music, game, and Mario. How did that happen? This is called Mario Galaxy Beach Bowl. I don't know. That's pretty weird because, like, when I look at these files, it has the metadata right here. You can see it, Beach Bowl Galaxy. So I don't know why it's not loading that. Very strange. What happens when it reaches the cursor? It just stops. It just stops in place. It's pretty lame. That's why I was like moving the mouse around, because it looks too dumb when you stand still, when you stop. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you, Palorus. Appreciate that. I'm just showing off an old game that I made 10 years ago. I would have been 19, maybe 18. But even though this game does not really represent the type of game that I want to make, it does like have a lot of the same concepts that most games are going to have, because it has like the collisions, it has movement, it has like things moving, instances of objects. There's a lot of things that this engine is able to do, and come on. I really want to get a good score. This is already the highest score I've ever gotten in my entire life. Yeah, that's it. 50. 50 is my high score ever. I don't think I'll be able to beat that. So, also what I was going to mention before I get back to the Moonshire tile stuff is, while I was working on this web game, or not working on, I was moving it over to my Azure server, I decided to port one of my other games. So, chalicade.com/games/cavern. I got Cavern running in browser. I'm so proud of this. It's awesome. I showed this on stream not too long ago, and now you can just like play it in your browser using this URL whenever you want. So before, you had to download the GitHub project and run it through, you know, through the Love executable. But now you can just run it in your browser. I think that's really convenient. I think a lot of my games moving forward, when Outercore... Oh, yeah, I should put Outercore on there, too. I totally should do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. I forgot about that game. I forgot about that game because I don't have a repo for it for some reason. I need to fix that. Do I use Love2D to make my game? Yeah, I use Love2D to make all my games. So this game here was made in Love2D. Sorry, I guess I should clarify. That Phaser game, I did not make with Love2D. Obviously, it was made with Phaser. These days, all of my games are made with Love2D. So this is a game that I started when I was in college, and then I finished after I graduated. Oh shoot, it's playing the music. I don't want the music to be playing. This game doesn't have a main menu or anything like that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to working on the pixel art and stuff. And one thing that I also wanted to show is that Old School Geek, who's in chat, sent me pictures of some palm trees, because we were working on the palm tree pixel art, and we were kind of like questioning how tall should it be, how skinny should it be, what do real palm trees look like, and he lives somewhere where there are palm trees, so he took a picture of these like really skinny ones. Like that is the big takeaway, is that in general they are a lot skinnier than what I originally thought, because I'm always thinking of like the Animal Crossing ones. So then he also took a picture of this one. It's kind of behind this brick wall, or this concrete wall, but it confirms the geoguessing that location. Oh yeah, I forgot that you're an expert. That is pretty funny. But I think he took a picture of this specifically to show that there can be small, short palm trees, you know. Must be real good at coding. I mean, it just takes a lot of practice. Beach days with palm tree. Yeah, like, it must be somewhere pretty nice. Followed your tutorial? Thanks, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really proud of the tutorials on my channel. And I think this palm tree's in a pretty good state. Let's look at these layers again. This is something that we made on stream. And today we're just going to be working on more pixel art. I think it looks great. Yeah, I think it looks really good right now, too. So this is this layer. This is this layer. Obviously, the player's not part of it. This layer, this layer. I love that's in pieces, because I think that what's going to happen is, if I want it to sway in the wind, these leaves, like this layer here, this layer is going to independently like sway back and forth. I might even separate the leaves into two separate leaves, so then each leaf can have its own sway pattern. I worry that the trunk is going to be too stiff if I do that. It looks a little flat, though. When you say flat, what do you mean? Like, I guess the perspective. Do you mean like the perspective? Assign function? What do you mean by that? The other thing that I was thinking about working on today is these tiles, because I've been working a lot on. Well, I know about method sign, but what's the purpose of using sign? These tiles here, I was going to show that I was putting a lot of work into the tile set level editor generation. And last week I was showing that there was an issue with like stacked cases of these elevations. And I fixed that. I'm going to see if there's any stacked examples. This room here is just an example of a bunch of like really complex cases all together. Like we have this big donut, and this is a little bit awkward. That's not that awkward. You can just like walk between them because they're two different slabs. This is one thing I want to work on too. Look how the axe like chops through the grass. It's kind of weird. What you can make the leaves move is... Oh, I see. Making the leaves move. Yeah, well, what I would do is make it very similar to like the grass that's already in the game, or the trees that are already in the game. They already do that. I want to see if I can go to... There's a specific level. Load. I think it's called Ruins, where I have that stacked example that I was showing last week. So this is the other thing I wanted to point out, is that I made a very short elevation. Like, check it out. This last week, the tallest elevation was taller than or the shortest elevation was taller than this. Now I have this really short, flat example of this slab, like grass thing. And I fixed the bug where the stacked cases wouldn't work properly. So now I can walk up here, walk behind it. All of these are working perfectly. And I want to actually change that. So this is what the map file looks like. And this middle one, I'm going to make the Z-span actually 2. And then that'll show what a 2-span looks like. So essentially every like slab of elevation here has its own Z height, is what I've been calling it. I mean, I might change that name at some point. But you can change these values in the JSON file, and that's how these levels are generated, is that you can change the Z-span. That's like the height of the elevation. Never noticed before, but the shadow teleporting off the platform looks awkward. It does. It does. I think that there was one stream like a long time ago where someone was pointing that out. It does look awkward. That is the exact moment that the elevation value changes for the mob, and it is awkward. I think that it would look better if somehow, like standing right here, this obviously doesn't look right. This looks very strange because my shadow is flat against the surface of this taller platform, but I'm standing at the ledge, right? It shouldn't be projecting on there. What it should do is it should split the sprite and project the part that's off the ledge down on the ground here. The problem is, look like it's made by a full team. It does, because I've been working on it for so long. It's been a long, long time. But thank you. I really appreciate that. I put a lot of work into it. This shadow issue, though, I don't really know how to fix it, because I don't know what that would look like. You can't just split the sprite into distort the shadow down when the player is at a high place. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying I need to do. And let me paint real quick exactly what it is that I need to do to fix this issue. I want to make games, but I only have a phone, so I can't. There are ways to do it on a phone, but it is more challenging for sure. So let's draw a really basic example to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. And I'm going to do it at a isometric perspective. Whoops. So here is our platform. And then here is our player. Okay. And then the shadow, I'm going to make the shadow be gray. So the shadow is normally here at his feet. And this is the problem, is that the shadow, when you are at the ledge of a platform, the shadow is projecting off the ledge, like as if you were on a skateboard. This kind of looks like a skateboard, and the skateboard is literally like hanging off the ledge, like we're gonna go into the pipe, you know, we're dropping in. So that's the problem, is the shadow kind of can't. It needs to stop. Ideally, the shadow would just stop at this green line, and it would look more like this up here, and it would just stop. And ideally, it would continue down here. So the shadow, if the light's coming straight down, the shadow is projecting down here, and it projects down off the ledge. This is why I drew this picture in an isometric perspective, because it helps clarify like what I need to do from the front perspective. I need to take this part of the sprite, of the shadow sprite, and project it down here. Like you see where the shadow is when I'm on the ground here? It just needs to be half up here and then half down here. It needs to look like this. So that is what the challenge is. Now, the question is, how do I do that? What is the strategy for accomplishing this? It looks difficult to make, though. Yes, exactly. I don't really... I have some ideas, but they're not clean. Can't you split it manually, like into 12 sprites? It wouldn't lag the game. That's not a problem with lagging the game. But even if it was 12 sprites, because that is a suggestion someone gave me in the past, is why don't you split the shadow sprite in half? So rather than the shadow sprite being an oval, all the shadow sprites would be 2 like semicircles, and then every single frame, it's gonna draw them together if the player is, you know, standing here. But and then like I said, you can just like split down. You could like cut this in half. You could cut this in half and then move this half down if you need to. But then the problem with that is, what happens if the ledge itself isn't directly halfway down? What if you're standing like only part way off the ledge, like right here, and then only this sliver of the shadow should be sent down? It shouldn't be the whole half. So like that person was saying, maybe you could split it into very, very thin strips, maybe pixel by pixel even, because this is a pixel art game. Split the sprite, shift the shadow down like 2 pixels when it's hanging out the edge. Well, this is the problem, is that if we split it in half, that's not enough. And if we split it in 12, that would probably be okay. Replace the shadow sprites with draw shadow that programmatically determines the size, split / height. That is an option too, and that's something I'm considering. The shadows could be completely handled through shaders. I could do no shadow sprites at all, and then all of these shadows could be calculated each frame. I think that is genuinely a good suggestion. Buffalo Jake, welcome in. Happy Moonshire Monday. Thank you. I'm just talking about this shadow issue that I'm experiencing when in the game, when you stand at the edge, the player's shadow is like hanging off the edge, and it only moves down when you fall off. Use an oval and cut it at the ends off and put 2 rects in between that changes size. Okay, so I'm going to introduce yet another problem with these suggestions. Take a look at the edge of this platform. Notice that there's like notches taken out. There's notches taken out of the edge, the edges of this wall. And lots of walls are going to have that. And if we do a clean vertical split like this, what will happen when these notches are in here? It's not going to look right. It's not going to look right. It's not enough to just split the sprite, because sometimes not every line of the wall is going to be perfectly straight. If it was, then we could do this, but because there's roughness to these edges, I don't think splitting the sprite will ever be enough, because you can't split the sprite in enough ways to handle all of these like these strange crevices and all that stuff. You would still get some parts of it hanging off the edge with these notches in the side. So that's why programming the shadow is the way. Exactly. I don't think there's a way around it besides doing a programmatic, like maybe shader-based shadows, or the shadow itself is constructed from basic rectangles that I mathematically decide every frame. That is an option. Maybe make a shadow to every height. A shadow to every height. Yeah, that is how the implementation will go. That's a really good suggestion, and that is how I'll end up implementing it if I do it that way. That's exactly how it would work. So what you're suggesting is that in this scenario up here, the code will... Allfather, thank you so much for donating. I hope everyone is having a good Moonshire Monday. Thank you so much, Allfather, the goat. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I really appreciate the donation. Amazing. Just talking more about the shadow stuff. What that person was talking about is we could have the shadow programmatically rendered at every elevation. So even in this scenario, we'll have the shadow being rendered, but before it actually draws the full oval, before it draws the full shadow, it's going to run some calculations on it to cut off that part. And yeah, that's exactly right, is that it is going to draw two different instances, one at each elevation. And there's going to have to be like some steps in there to determine like which elevations should we draw this sprite at. Why not try cutting pixels off at the overhanging the ledge? Maybe still not perfect. That's what I'm saying, is that it won't be perfect, and because of that, implementing a cutoff in a way that like isn't programmatic that I'm discussing, it still won't look very good. I understand that it will probably look better than how it currently does, but it would still be a lot of work to split up the sprites and then programmatically figure out like which sprites are we gonna render, when in the end it still won't look quite right. I think I just need to go with a programmatic approach. Throws in a monkey wrench. Shadow falls elongated down the wall of the cliff on the front. Yeah, on the south edge, it totally could do that. So that's a cool suggestion, and that might be a little bit much, you know. I think that I think that actually on this front edge, maybe it's not even noticeable. It's mainly a problem on the sides, right? Because hanging off this front edge, if the shadow overhangs, because this is the thing, if the player's shadow overhangs this ledge here, it'll look fine, and I can demonstrate that actually. If I show the hero, I can go ahead and change their shadow sprite. Here, I say shadow ID is round M. Let's change it to round L. That's the large sprite. So now the player's sprite is large. It's large and in charge. And this is what I'm saying. Oh, it's still too big. Or still too small. Let's make it XL. Yeah, now he's really large and in charge. Anyway, what I was saying is, if this shadow overlaps this bottom lip, it still kind of looks good. It's because it's just over top of it. Is it noticeable on the north edge? It is, because kind of, because on this ledge, I think it still looks okay, but technically speaking, you shouldn't be seeing this top part of the shadow because it would project downwards. I'll draw that too. That's a bad way of doing it. I'll draw like dashes. So if I'm standing on the north edge, like this, and my shadow is like this, it's going to project downward to here. So it's going to extend out to this way, like that. So on the north edge, you wouldn't actually see it if I was standing here, because this top sliver would project down behind, like here. Like notice how when I fall off the ledge, the shadow like disappears completely. That's because it falls behind this wall here. a little offset to the opposite side. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I need to do, but that involves splitting the sprite. That involves splitting it using code or using shaders or using different sprites, you know? That's a big shadow. Yeah, it's a big shadow so I can test things out. Cutting into displaying the shadow sprite correctly, that is a challenging part. And that's why, like, cutting it with different images, like, I don't think there's going to be a way for me to split up the images to different ways. I think it actually needs to read, like, what does this edge look like? And subtract that from the sprite here. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, XXV4. You're truly an inspiration, Kyle. Keep it up. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I really appreciate the donations. So much support this stream. I really, really appreciate all that. All the folks chatting, all the folks giving donations. That's amazing. You guys are the best. I really, really love having you guys in the chat. Easy solution, get rid of all shadows. I mean, literally that is an option. Let's see what that looks like when I do that. I think I can just change this to nothing, and then he'll have no shadow. Or there's probably a default shadow. There is a default shadow. Can I make it have no shadow? I actually don't know if that's a feature. Vessel. Do vessels support not having shadow ID? Or actually, well, there's a few things. Let's check out the vessel. Does vessel support not having shadow ID? Shadow ID. Oh. If self.shadow. So this probably gets generated. Shadow ID. Oh, no, it gives itself a default here. No. I think I need to make a special string specifically to handle the blank. Make a shadow sprite point to a non-existing file. That's kind of what I think that I'll do. Or I think I'll have a special shadow case and say like none or blank or nil. You can make a string called none. That's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to have one called none or empty. That's a good suggestion. Round at none. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. I think that it would be better if it was an option to leave shadow ID as nil, and then a nil shadow ID would translate to no shadow. But I guess nil is also very unpredictable. Not having a shadow would just look like a flat piece of paper. Exactly. Like, you know, I think that's true, is that we probably do want a default shadow because I pretty much always want one. If it's a mob, if it's a vessel, it's gonna have a shadow. Pretty much always. And then as long as I make support for not having one. So let's go ahead and say shadow ID, shadow, and then, oh, shadow ID is equal to empty string. Okay, so I can do this. If I make it empty string, that's how you do it. That's acceptable. Okay, it works. So this, oh my gosh, it's hard to look at. I hate looking at this when there's no shadow. It looks so weird. I can't even tell what's going on. I think a drop shadow is pretty much needed if you have stuff jumping. It definitely is. So weird. Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah, that's awful. Isn't it weird walking on sunshine? Yeah. So like that's the importance of these shadows, is that it makes a huge difference with pretty much everything. And you'll notice that even these elevations have shadows, like this really boxy shadow around the corners. And something that I should do is make it so it's more cut out, or like it has some roundness to this edge because it's too sharp right now. But you know, it's better than having no shadow, because same deal. If I took the shadows away from the elevated platform, it kind of ruins the look. It's crazy how much depth the shadow provided. It is really crazy. It makes a huge difference. It does all the heavy lifting. So I'm gonna change that back to round M. That's the default for the hero, and we're back to normal. We'll be cutting the shadow when it hits an empty pixel because it only looks weird on an empty pixel. Yeah, is that it would end up being something like that, where it would be an algorithm where if we zoom in on the side, we'll have these notches in there sometimes, and then here's the shadow. It'll look like this. And it's literally going to go through pixel by pixel of this dot, and it's going to check to see if there's any like missing elevation. And then it's going to mark the ones that are not valid to be shifted down. So like pretend like all of these are the pixels that make up the shadow. It's just checking to see where exists in the notch versus out of the notch, and it has to use like some shader code to figure this out, probably. Is the shadow a shader? No, and that's not a dumb question, by the way. It's actually not a shader, but we're going to be applying shaders to it in order to make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and show actually what the shadows look like in terms of the sprites, because I haven't shown that for a while. The shadow sprites are literally a collection of blobs, and like if I go into round, these are the ones that we've been working with. Is we have the different blobs, and I'll open up one of these like XL. Whoops. So the shadows literally are sprites, and the reason I do this is because you know it might seem strange to have like M, S, XS, XXS when like these just represent the different sizes, but these are still all pixel art, and programmatically coding in this pixel art shape, it still takes a bunch of code. I guess this shape doesn't take too much. Here's the thing: if I wanted to render this shape through code, I would draw this with rectangles. You would draw one rectangle here, one rectangle here, one rectangle here, one rectangle here, and then one rectangle here. So with 5 rectangles, you can draw this shadow sprite. But when we compare that to XL, this would require a lot more rectangles, because we have this one, we have this one, and then you have one for every incremental like pixel. Because if you don't do this pixel art, it'll just look too smooth. It won't look like pixel art anymore. You can do it with 3 overlapping. Oh my gosh, you're a genius! Yes! That's way better. Yes, that's way better. Oh my gosh, we got a genius in the audience. That's actually a really good suggestion. Awesome. And then that's how I would do it with this one probably too. I think that I would end up being less. Because I don't think that it makes any difference if you're rendering large areas. It just matters the number of rectangles that you're rendering. Generate them at the start of the game also. I don't think that would be any more efficient than just using sprites. Because if we're loading a sprite, that takes as much processing power as just like generating them early on. So that's what the sprites look like. And what we'll be doing is we'll be taking these sprites and programmatically chopping it in half. Except it's more than just chopping it in half. It's more than just taking this section off and shifting it down. Because that's what we'll end up be doing, right? Is that if I make this bigger, like 200, 200. If we like pretend, I'll use this as a canvas to demonstrate. If I have my cliffside here, like that, okay, and then that's what it looks like. The whole challenge is that we need to detect how much is on this left side versus how much is on this right side. I'm actually going to use a brighter shade of green so we can see it better. And then I'm going to extend this all the way up. Whoop. So then I can do a fill. Okay. Then, now, it's going to have to... let's actually change the opacity. Adjustments, place color, we're going to... I need to change layers. Replace color. We're going to replace this color with white, but less visible. There we go. That looks nice. And now, what's going to happen is the code, the shader code, is going to go through pixel by pixel and figure out which of these shadow pixels are in the green and which of these pixels are not in the green. And it's going to quite literally mark each of them and then shift this whole section down. It would be these pixels and then these pixels. So that's how the detection is going to need to happen. It's going to be complex. Use the texture's width and height for that, right? Not really, because because of these notches. If everything was a perfect rectangle, then yes, we could. But because there are ovals, there's chunks taken out. The shader will check by the color. It probably won't check by the color. It'll probably check by the opacity or presence of something in the layer that it's searching for. So you can write shader code that essentially checks to see, is there something here? Because I think I actually can show this. Shader. Actually, it's shader.glsl because we split it up. So this is what oh, this looks so ugly. But this is what the shader code looks like. And I'm trying to see if I can find a clear example where it's checking to see if a pixel exists. So actually, in hindsight, this is what's happening. Is it's reading pixel data for all pixels, like the pixels red, green, and blue values, but it's also reading the pixels alpha value. Alpha meaning its opacity. It's how visible it is. And for example, in our grass tiles, these pixels here have an opacity of of like 1. This is 1 opacity or 255 opacity. And then these pixels here are 0 opacity. There is no pixel opacity at all here. It's just empty space. And that applies to these pixels too, these notches. These pixels are just opacity 0 pixels. So what it's going to do is, that's why it says like dot alpha times color dot alpha, because if the alpha is 0, it just zeroes out everything. And that's how it's doing this, is it's applying this shader thing, but it's looking for pixels that have an alpha of not 0, which means that there's actually some filled space in there. Commenting Chemp. I used to work with a guy who wouldn't comment any code, or there'd just be a comment at the top that was vague and useless. Yeah, I got into a really good habit of writing comments when I was working, because when you work on a team and you share your code with other people and people code review your stuff, it's really important to have comments around what you write. But also, in full disclosure, I do use AI to generate a lot of these comments, because it's just really, really nice to have these notes in here just to clarify what these different sections mean. It's really easy to fall back on that stuff, and it's just helpful. So it's a mixture of my own comments, but also sometimes I have it flesh out whenever I like feel myself slacking, you know. What is that desk setup? 360-degree spin. Oh, my desk setup is kind of weird. I should probably show it on stream sometime. Actually, I can't really right now. Love my game demo. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate that. I literally do the same. I have hundreds of comments in my own code. Yeah, I gotcha. I was going to say something. Oh, comments. No, I already said that. Desk setup is that right now I'm sitting in my desk chair, and my my keyboard is on an ironing board. This is an ironing board. So that's how I'm typing. And my desk is in front of me. My camera's right there. And I'm just like close enough to my desk where I can like have this, I don't know, something about it's really comfy. Wow, I know, it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit different, but I noticed that I was too close to my desk. And I like the freedom of being a little bit farther away. It makes the background a little bit more visible. So that's why I did that. How optimized do I think my game is? Very, very optimized. I am super considerate of that, and that's been a huge factor in this like level generation stuff, because it takes a lot of processing power to determine, like, the player is drawn, like, this is the Y sort stuff. How do I know that the player gets drawn under these tiles and under these tiles, but when I'm down here, suddenly the tiles change where now the player's on top, and even down here, these tiles I was on top before, and now I'm under. So there's a lot of logic that goes into that, and the way that's optimized is a lot of chunking. That's something that we talked about last week, where last week there was a problem where these were not Y sorting properly, and the issue was just the chunking logic. It tries to optimize the code by, rather than doing a Y sort on every individual tile, because there are a lot of tiles. If I show the flags for cells, this is all of the different cells that we have, and it has a bit of an offset thing because of the half apex, but each of these grid cells represents a different tile, and it would not be performant to run Y sort logic on every single one. So the chunking logic takes big groups of them that are going to have the same Y sort, or actually probably just like horizontal strips. All the Y sort happens on horizontal strips. So rather than having every single one Y sorting, it helps with performance a ton. Now, that being said, there are still some performance problems. I remember that when I spawn a bunch of balloons, it caused... What the heck? Why are the balloons... Something's broken with the balloons. Oh, no! What's going on with the balloons? They don't have any physics. What? What happened? Why did the balloons... This is a tragedy. It has no collider. What happened? No. No, what happened? What's going on? What's going on? The balloons. They're stuck to the ground. Balloon. It's just spawning a balloon. I don't know. What did I change recently? No Z-span property? I don't think that makes a difference. When its animation should be played, is the gravity wrong? No, I don't think... I've been learning Guido for some time now with the help of AI, but I feel like using AI for preventing from actually learning. I do think that that's a big concern. That's good that you're noticing it, though, because in general, yeah, the way that you learn is by solving problems, overcoming challenges yourself, and if AI is solving them for you, then that gets in the way of learning. I think that AI is helpful for, like, asking specific questions or searching for things or research, but it is really important to, like, be on your own and doing that stuff. Beautiful to see all the subsystems in a big menu. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really helpful having that stuff as well. That went over like a lead balloon. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what's happening. What do I even do to check on this? I didn't change anything to cause this. Would it be in Rise? Did I change hover true, linear damping, density, hover height, hover bob? This is bad. This is bad. Diff. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So someone suggested let's look at the diff, and that's a really good suggestion. So we're gonna go to GitHub and we're gonna look at the diff. So what that means is that because all of this code is handled through Git, through version control, I'm able to go back and check all the different versions, all these specific changes that I've made. And here we have the GitHub repo for MOONSHIRE. This is private, by the way. This game is not open source completely. The Legend of Luo repo is. But I can go over to my commits. It's been a bit since I commit. I've been working on other stuff. More Palm updates. Well, actually, I don't want to go to specific commits. What I want to do is I want to go to the code, go to that specific file under props, and go to prop.lua. Camp updates 3 weeks ago. I don't know why this would make any difference. So then this file here tells you what changed. Where do you... Jeez, that took a while. That was annoying. That's fine. Oh, that's nothing. That's not an issue. Working on a freshly pulled from repo. I have some changes, but this shouldn't cause any problems. No, these certainly can't cause problems. Oh, compare the previous local commit to your local. I see. If I'm being honest, I'm actually kind of inexperienced with using just Git commands in a command line. I'm kind of reliant on some of the UIs and GitHub and like using the source control panel in VS Code. It's been a hot minute since I've been using the Git commands. I used to. Oh my gosh! Allfather! 10 gift subs? Oh my gosh, 10 gift memberships. Oh my gosh, that is so loud. Thank you so much. I need to make sure that I don't let that get out of control. That is so loud. Thank you so much. How do I stop the... Is it still doing it? I'm so sorry. There we go, there we go. I don't know what happened. That's way more than 10. It's still going. Okay, so we just discovered a bug. Thank you so much, Allfather. Thank you. That's an amazing gift. Thank you so much for donating 10 subs. But that also uncovered a bug. The gift that keeps on giving. Exactly. I'm so sorry, everyone, for that annoying, like, loop of sounds. But that uncovered a bug with my chat software because for... Oh, look. Yeah, you can see it above. Look at the chat. Above my head. It's like continuously reading the same message over and over again. Why is it doing that? That's really bugged out. Again, thank you so much, Allfather. That is such a kind donation, and it's so awesome to have a member like you in the community. That is so... I'm so thankful. Thank you so much. And again, I'm sorry, everyone, that I let this noise thing get so loud. I apologize for that. I was trying to turn it down for a while, but it's still going. It's still going. You can still hear it. And yeah, that's completely broken up there. It's like showing up and then it disappears. Why? That's so messed up. I wonder what the deal of that is. Out of sync. Messages came in too fast and chat lost its place. Maybe. Will you ever make a tutorial on how to do object-oriented programming in Lua? I could do something like that, but like in general, the way I do object-oriented programming is kind of like custom. It's a lot of custom code that I do. It's probably not the most standardized way to do it. Try resetting the software or something. I could, but I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to figure out exactly what the condition is that caused this to happen, because I'm gonna have to debug this, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. Like, I'm so glad that... Allfather, I'm so glad that you did that, because this is the first time I've had a gift sub, or a gift membership, sorry, a gift membership in the stream. And it was able to reveal a new bug. That is so awesome. I'm so happy that that happened. So I'm going to be able to figure that out. And really, what I could probably do is, like, this behavior that's doing right now above my head, where it's showing the notification and then deleting itself immediately and then re-showing. I should have some kind of fail-safe in the code. There should be some kind of fail-safe in the code that completely prevents this sort of thing from happening. What is Chow Chat coded in? It's coded in TypeScript and JavaScript, and then the front ends in like HTML and CSS and stuff. It's an Electron app, excuse me. You can see the details here. Node and Electron. And takes a sledgehammer to your nice chat. No, I'm happy to have that. I'm so happy to discover that. Because here's the thing. I want other people to use Chat. And if that happens for other people, it's going to be annoying. I want to catch these things now, early on. So I'm so happy that happened. Super, super thankful for that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make a note. And what I'm going to make a note of is when gift membership occurs, I'll say gift membership or gift subscription because it might happen on Twitch as well. The notification for that large batch of gift subs got caught in a loop. It would continuously show the gift membership notification, delete the notification from chat, and then re-show the notification once more in an endless loop, triggering the sound effect each time. There needs to be a failsafe to prevent this type of behavior from ever happening for any message at all. Loops should never happen. So that's my goal, to handle this. And by the way, I think that I can fix it for this session if I go to chat and then go to clear all messages. Nope. Oh no! It's still doing it. Maybe if I disconnect the session. Here, I'll disconnect. I'll clear all messages. And then I'll reconnect. No, it's still doing it. It's still doing it. Oh, that's a really bad bug. What can I do to fix that? Killed out my keyboard noises. Nice. Yeah, they're just brown switches. Something's really wrong. Yeah, something is really wrong. What can I do to fix this, at least for this session? I think that the notification is going to disappear from the chat in like a couple minutes. Looks like I exist permanently now. It's totally okay. This is such a funny bug. I actually like that it's doing this, but it is strange, isn't it? That it's caught in a weird endless loop. And also, I think it's counting each one as another message in the uptime thing. And fixing Moonshire Moonday, yeah, pretty much. Allfather does have some pretty excellent aura. It's so true. You can just leave it for now. Let's continue. I will continue, but I think it is going to go away in a couple minutes because I'm noticing that in the chat there's like this little bubble up here that shows the notification. So hopefully when that disappears, it'll stop. But next stream, I hope that someone does a gift membership or does any membership, because I want to test and make sure that my fix, whatever I do, is going to fix that bug, because I want people to do the gift memberships. I love that. Chat about to be chopped. If it doesn't go away, here I am going to turn it off for now for a hot second until that goes away, and if it doesn't get fixed, then I might just have to go the rest of the stream without it, just because YouTube makes that message stage for a few minutes. Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm saying, is I think that in a few minutes it's going to, like, that bubble's going to go away, and then I'll be able to reset everything and it'll be okay. One upside, at first glance, it makes it look like the chat is going wild. It totally does. Yeah, because it just keeps like bumping up and down, right? It's only gift. When I did my membership, it doesn't show in chat. Yeah, I think you're right, because other people have done the regular membership subscription, and it's been perfectly fine. This is the first time on any stream ever that I've had a gift membership or a gift subscription. Thank you so much again, Allfather. I'm so excited about that. That's like one of the best stream moments ever. But back to this one thing. What was I working on? I was working on the balloons. The balloons are busted. Because for some reason, the balloons don't have any physics. Like no collider, no vessel is made. If prop.width and prop.height, and not prop.fake. Which engine is this made on? Love 2D. When you start developing Moonshire, and how did I learn to do Lua in general? I started learning Lua in Love 2D back when I was in college. I was showing earlier how I have this game, the comic game. I made this game when I was in college, And this is not Love 2D, this is Phaser, but what I did is I was just like playing around with all these different engines and trying them all out. And I chose Love 2D because I just liked it. So my recommendation for everyone is just to make a bunch of different games and lots of different engines and try the one that you like the best. And to get better at Lua, all you have to do is just make a bunch of games. And that's it. So that's my main advice. I need to figure out why the balloon is not getting any physics. One thing I can test is to see, do the other props have physics? If I whoops. Sorry. If I spawn a different prop, is it going to be okay? Yeah, this one's fine. The kiln's okay. Yeah, see? It's fine. Just joined Jellimations. Thank you for being here. My laptop would be fried if I tried that. We're getting some performance issues. Something's wrong. You can see it choppy. I'm not sure what the deal is. But let's see, what's the difference between the balloon and the kiln? There should be no difference. Let's look what the kiln has. The kiln has a width height bevel, which the balloon also has. Has shadow, Y, static. I guess it has static. That shouldn't make any difference. I guess I could try removing some of these details, like hover. I'll remove this hover stuff for now and see if that fixes it, and then that would determine, like, it's coming from there. Whoops. I need to change it back to the balloon. Mir, thank you for stopping in. It's my favorite game to work on. Oh, yeah. This is the longest game I've worked on long-term for sure. No, it's still not getting any physics. Why would the balloon not be getting any physics? What is this madness? Is restitution screwing it up? I kind of want to get rid of all of these things and see if I can just like get it to work. Here, let's get rid of all. Whoops. Let's get rid of all of these like special features that I added to it. And see if that helps, because maybe it will. What the heck is going on? Oh. What the heck? What? Look what's going on. This is the balloon's collider. It's like detached. What happened? And like it's bugging out the whole game. The whole game is like super laggy right now. That's weird. Okay, why? Does balloon have something else like being set? Where in the code do I have balloon? This is it. I think that something's actually bugged. Do I use multi-threading? No, not really. I don't think I do. MOONSHIRE, I think you should give more lives. Yeah, I think that the demo is too hard as it is. Yeah, something is not updating. Maybe the change that got... Maybe it's in Vessel. Here, I'm going to go back to GitHub and do the diff on Vessel instead. So we have the engine. We got... What? Where's the Vessel at? What folder is Vessel in? Oh, it's in Tools? That's dumb. It shouldn't be there. That's a bad spot for it. It should be an engine. Okay, let's see if anything... Oh no, this is from 2 months ago. It was fine back then. Write a story for my game? No thanks. I'm gonna be writing the story. I have a lot of ideas for it. You can search for the file name in GitHub. Yeah, I know. I probably should start doing that. Yeah, it literally says go to file. I really should do that. Why is it in engine? It should be in tools. I literally, that's a very real possibility. I'm a little bit unsure what to check. Let's see how the other ones do, like sign and telescope. Let's do telescope. Telescope is a good one. I'm also going to get rid of this color swap thing, because maybe that's screwing it up too. Let's try that first. Nope. And we're going to say telescope. Oh yeah, this one's broken too. Okay. So, something's broken with the props. Have you seen Project Hail Mary? No, actually I haven't, but I know about it. And I think that I should watch it because I think I'd like it. Is that the one that's by the same author as The Martian? If I'm thinking of the right thing? I can't see chat on my stream. Yeah, I turned it off. Let's turn it back on. I forgot that I turned it off. Let's turn it back on and see if the problem's fixed. So let's see. Let's disconnect that. Let's clear the chat. Let's reconnect. Give me 1 second. Yay! It's fixed! It's fixed! It worked! Now we know. But this task here, fixing gift membership, top priority. Top priority. I would highly recommend it. Watched it yesterday. Top 3 immediately. Gonna watch it again. That's awesome. I have heard really good things. I've heard it was amazing. And I like The Martian. Assuming that's the one I'm thinking of. I think it is. So somewhere in here... .x equals... create from map is preview prop update. Is this not being called? If self.vessel update elevation sync value. So maybe this isn't happening? Why would that not happen though? It has to be happening. It has to be. Also, it wasn't happening for the kiln. The kiln is static. If I change one of these props to static, is that going to fix it? If I change telescope to static, because it has all these things, if I give it static equals true, is that going to fix it? Yeah, it does. So static might be part of the problem. To drop another hammer on the glass table. You actually could. You have so much power. Everyone watching has so much power right now. That's why I need to fix it, because I really do want, like, I love the donations. I love the gift memberships. That is the most hype thing ever. I'm so excited that happened. So I want to make sure that it's working so that people have the opportunity to do that again. Do I use multi-threading? No, I don't. I do not use multi-threading. If I do, it's for something that I'm not aware of. Like maybe Love2D Under the Surface is doing some sort of multi-threading. It very well could be. So why would static have anything to do with this? Bump jump. Don't jump if prop is static. Start jump. When does this get called? Bump jump. Oh, that's when you hit it. I see. Right, that's fine. This is not an issue. It's not gonna get bumped. I guess I could see. Print prop bumped. And I can check and see if it gets bumped, but I don't think it's going to. Let's see where else static gets considered. Static. Well, what I don't get is, like, why is the balloon just not getting any physics at all? Where is it going? Why would it be gone? Is there a thing that's the opposite of scope creep? Since I think for the project I'm thinking of, I might be thinking too small. I don't think that's ever a problem. I think that you always should shoot for something smaller, and then if you find an opportunity to put in something that fits nicely, then you can. Am I using Winfield? No, I'm using my own custom physics wrapper. I don't know what else to check. I don't know what else to check. Oh, that sucks. What a bummer. And I don't want to. I don't want to ask the agent to fix it. That feels like such a cop out. I want to fix it myself. Because why? Like the main strange thing is that there should never be a scenario where the vessel's position differs from the objects. How do you feel about iterative design? Start simple, then brick by brick layer new functionality. That's exactly what I do. Well, you know, in terms of gameplay, I think that it is a good way to do it. I definitely do that with design and with art. Like, if I show my sprites, the way I draw my sprites is all iterative. Like, this palm tree, I didn't just start with the palm tree. I started with this. I had a trunk that I started with. And, like, this is the iteration that I went through in order to get to the final product. It went through many different phases where the dimensions kept changing. It became Sideshow Bob for a little bit. And then it starts to look a little bit more normal. This is when I think Wolf suggested making it lighter color, and then I added the rings. So the way I do art is iterative, and I would say that it's pretty common to do this same sort of strategy with my code development as well. It is still broken on the older maps, or is it specific to that test map? If that would change, let's see. Well, so this is the thing, is right now, I don't know if I'll be able to switch over to that older map. I'll try. Because right now, I'm like rewriting the level editor, where instead of loading from level 2, let's try loading from level instead. And I need to load a different map. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. Oh, I think I am gonna be able to. No. Oh. Yeah, actually, it is working. I know it's hard to tell, but I am actually pushing it. Here, I'm gonna push it to the edge of the screen. I'm in a big empty room. I don't think anything is gonna come. Where is show? I think that there's a way I can monitor player XY. Player XY. Ah, darn, we're already at the edge. But like, look, I am actually moving it. So it is something to do with the level update. I think props aren't being updated in the new level system. That was a good suggestion to try out the old level system. Here, I need to undo that. Because that makes it more clear that I think that it's just not being updated, which is crazy. So we're back to level 2. Okay, we're back to this. That's fine. And then what I'm gonna do. I think that in level 2 update, wherever this is, update. Does it say self.props, :update? I don't know if it has self.props. It does. Oh my gosh, that was the problem. It wasn't updating the props. Does it need to update the mobs? Let's see if that was the problem. That was the problem. Problem is solved. Problem solved. That is the issue. But I'm shocked that happened. I'm very, very shocked that happened. I guess I'm not shocked because I was rebuilding it from scratch, so it makes sense that would happen, I guess. Okay, the balloon's back to normal, or the balloon has its colliders. Now I need to give it back to, give it the rest of the things I took out. I think I can get rid of everything in prop, right? What's down here? Yeah, we can get rid of all this. Props update. That's fine. I'm going to undo this as well. And I'm going to mark this as update props in level 2 code. By the way, when I say level 2 is not a specific file for like a specific level. I have a system called level. If I go to code, I have all of this level generation code, and I'm trying to rewrite it a little bit more cleanly. So I'm putting it in this folder called level 2. And that's the difference, is that they're just two different endpoints to load levels from. And what Wolf suggested is trying it in the old system, seeing if it worked, and it did. Like, I loaded it using the old level system, and it worked. So that kind of gave me some insight onto why it wasn't working in level 2. I would have never guessed that it was a level system problem, but it was. So good job. And let's double check and see if the balloons are back to normal. There they are. Nice. Will you be able to get more than 3 hit points in Moonshire? Yeah. I think that even in the demo you can if you get a diamond. It looks like you have a lot of compartmentalized systems that work well together. Did you gradually discover this architecture, or did you just know to make it this way? No, because I will show you. I have here. This is a folder called Moonshire Prefactor, which means it's before I rewrote everything. And this folder here is what the code base used to be like. And it is compartmentalized, as you can see. It's really, really similar. But the names and the categories and the parents and the structure, all of it in this version of the game is completely different. In fact, I think I can still run this version of the game. I'm going to close the old version, or close the current version. So we'll close that, run this. It opened in full screen on the wrong monitor. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. It's very laggy for some reason, but this is the prefactor code. It's insanely laggy. I don't know why that would be. Yeah, I don't know why it's so laggy. But this code base, it visually it looks the same, but the difference is this code base was so unpleasant to work with. And really, you can kind of see it here too. I have the enemies old. This is a big section of where I was coding the enemies, very customized. Like the Cloud Spirit had all of this custom code, and like the Golem had all this custom code. And there's so much overlap. It's so much cleaner in the new one. So to answer your question, I didn't discover this architecture like from the start. I didn't plan this all out perfectly. I did discover it over time from attempting it. That's why I always say, like, I don't really encourage people to plan things in a very detailed way, because when you start implementing it, you'll discover lots of details that you wouldn't have really thought about. Does your game use a lot of globals? It does not use that many. I think I have some, and I think I have them in load. I think I have them marked as globals. I guess these modules kind of count as globals. You know, in my rewrite, it's not really that I have globals, but each module is a global. If I go to game, that's probably a better example too. Because in a completely non-global environment, everything would be a property of game. Like, game would be the one parent object, and then everything would be a property of game. But in the end, I decided not to do that. Many things are, like game.load, update, and draw. Many things are properties of game, the main parent game. But I decided to do some globals for the save system, the settings, the controls, because it ended up having, like, what do you call it? A circular dependency. The game depended on save, but save depended on game. Which one is going to be the parent? That's the weird thing that happens. So rather than game being the one true, like, parent of everything, there are many parents. There's the game parent, there's the save settings, there's a lot of, like, top level modules that are global. And I don't really think I have specific variables that act as globals besides scale. I think scale is a global. No, it's not. It's actually not. I have view.scale. I have it saved to view. have a general idea of your games, but expect that some things don't go to plan, and to maybe adapt that things change to the games. Kind of like a lot of Lego sets you find a new part. It is kind of like that. It's more like you don't know what you don't know. You can plan all you want, but you won't know if it works until you try. And when you try, it will reveal many things that you can't really predict. You can't really account for. You can do all the research in the world. You can work with the most skilled, talented, experienced people. And there's still going to be things that come up that you won't predict. And you can plan to... You ever miss Game Maker? I do miss Game Maker. I love Game Maker a lot. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that adapting is what you need to do. But when you like iteratively adapt over time, it ends up getting bogged down and kind of messy. And that was the problem with my prefactor code, is that I was iterating on my own ideas so much that it ended up getting like really big and messy. And that's why I kind of went back and took all those big ideas. I discovered many things from implementing it that way. And I shrunk it down, trimmed everything down, cleaned it up, and now that's how I have this new system. And I'm very proud of this new like MOONSHIRE code base. I love that it has like a dedicated engine folder, which again, I want to put the vessel. I want to put vessel into the engine. I don't think it should be down in tools. That's really weird. Be prepared to rearrange things later because you never know. Yeah, exactly. Planning is, and this is the other thing. It is more fun to plan than it is to work. It is a lot of fun to like sit down and brainstorm and fantasize and think about things. I love doing that a lot. But it is not very fun to spend a day coding a feature only for it to not work properly. It's not very fun. It gets really annoying. So it's tempting to think, okay, I'm going to spend the day planning. I'm going to spend the day brainstorming and getting my ideas ready. But I'm trying to warn you guys that's not very productive. It ends up kind of being a waste because those plans, as you implement them, when you do finally implement them, you'll realize that there are flaws with those plans. There are features that are not supported. There are some things that might be too difficult to implement. Maybe there are some performance concerns. Maybe there's just something that you didn't account for. Maybe there's some new idea that you have, or maybe that you realize that some of your ideas were too much. That's what happened to me, is that I implemented lots of ideas, and then it turns out that maybe the game would be better if it wasn't bogged down with these extra features, these extra things. So that's the other thing, is you can kind of just like figure that stuff out over time. You never really know. That feeling of, it's almost working, I'll try again tomorrow. I totally know that feeling. I mostly use Love2D, Monogame, Relive. There's lots of different engines to choose from. My code is so messy, I stopped coding the game after a month because it's so hard to find something. Yeah, that's a skill that you build up over time. That's a skill that you learn how to navigate this large project structure. When I was a software developer working employed, like I worked at Boeing and Microsoft, the code bases that you work on at companies like this, like that, are enormous. They are huge. And it is a skill set to learn how to work with those. And also, it's code that you yourself did not write. When you work professionally as a software developer, you join a team and you work on a product that you did not write yourself. You are going to be swapped around between teams, between projects. It's very rare that you start a project and you stay on that same project from start to finish. It's more typical that you are a versatile programmer, you have a team that's working on many different like functionalities and features, and you're going to jump around between all of them. Maybe you'll have a specialty. And like, for example, I was the UI guy on my team. So even though I didn't specifically know all the details of every individual feature, I did kind of interact with lots of people, and I built UIs for all these different features and stuff. Less product design, less big picture, and more just the pure programming. Yeah, that's the part that's kind of, it feels more like work when you are coding things and building things or working on artwork. Actually, recently, my big thing is I've been working more on artwork when I really should be working more on the engine. And I am working on the engine. Like, just in this past week, I was showing how I have these, like, short slabs. Man, look how bad the choppiness is. It is so insanely choppy right now. I wonder what the deal is. Is the stream choppy? No, the stream seems fine. It's just the game's kind of laggy. Oh, now it's back. Now it's fine. I don't know what the deal is. That's kind of weird. But yeah, it's always a tricky thing, finding that balance between planning things out and actually implementing things. Because you don't want to implement something without any plan. It is important to have a plan, because if you implement something without a plan, the end result probably is going to be kind of like messy and not well thought through. But if you spend all your time thinking and not any time coding, then you're also going to miss out on some like issues, you know. At my job, I had to take over the work of a guy who programmed this custom robot thing. His code was the messiest and most confusing thing I had ever seen. One-letter variables. Oh my gosh. That's horrible. Yeah, I take great pride in my code where I tried my best to make sure that every variable is named very descriptively, we'll say. Because it is tempting, you know. If you're working on your own code base, it is tempting just to say, like, instead of spawn x, I could have just called this XX, SX, and SY. And, you know, maybe to my brain that makes more sense. But spawn X and spawn Y is much more clear. And someone else who's working on my game will be able to see this and have much more clarity on what this variable is doing compared to if I just named it SX. That's just not helpful. He did not comment anything. Classic. And a soft block in Moonshire, I clicked on the chest and breakable blocks area of the lightning area in the front was sort of blocked. I think that there is a soft block involving that. That makes sense. But yeah, if you're soft block, you just have to close the game and open it up again. That version of the game has a couple soft locks, I think, like the fan. If you end up getting the fan and use it, it soft locks the game too. But that code base is so old. It's older than that prefactor code that I showed. So it's there's definitely going to be some bugs. That makes sense. For the shadows, are you able to render half of the ellipse under the elevated edge tiles instead of doing pixel calcs? Yeah, and that you can. And that's kind of what I was discussing with this idea down here, with this bottom one, is, or actually with both of these, is the way it is going to work in the end is the full sprite is going to be drawn at the top, and the full sprite is going to be drawn at the bottom. But doing some trick, you're not going to be able to see the part that's hidden. And like you were saying, we could have it set up where like this part of the shadow is just covered up by the ledge. Like this ledge is full green, and you're not going to be able to see the part of the shadow that's under the ledge, if that makes sense. So that's totally true. That could definitely be how I handle the bottom half, is it just gets covered up by the tile set. That would work good. But what do I do about this top half is the problem. There's no tiles that I can cover it up. Well, there are tiles I can cover it up with, but not enough that can fully cover it up. Like if I'm standing here, there's no tiles here that can cover up the shadow. And even if it could, it can't really cover up the shadow because the bottom part of the shadow needs to be there. So we have a complex layering issue going on here. And I do still think there needs to be some sort of shader to handle this scenario down here in the corner, where if the cliffside is on the left, all of these white dots represent where the shadow should be on the top, and all these orange dots represent where the shadow should be shifted down. Or rather than shifted down, actually not shifted down, just removed. Just removed completely, because if we're doing this setup up here, this bottom half is already going to be taken care of. So if we're doing this shader trick to figure out which part's on the ledge, which part's off the ledge, we just need to delete the orange section of the shadow. Would you also need to scale the other half? Yeah, actually you would. That's a good call out. You would need to scale the other half because like you're pointing out, and you can see it when the player jumps, you can see that the shadow gets smaller as I get higher. And actually someone on stream pointed out that it might actually make more sense if the shadow got bigger as he got higher, but I think I'm going to keep it like this. So it gets smaller when you're higher up. So yes, you are totally right. If I were to go up on a higher ledge and stand off, the bottom section would be smaller than the higher one. Almost like a shader that projects the ellipse down on your artificial Z. Yeah, basically. In this case, it's not that complex. It really is more of a just check to see what is the Z value, and then do a scale based off of that. Is Moonshire available on macOS? If yes, how do you export playable port from macOS? It is available on macOS, but only for the modern Apple Silicon Macs. So if you're using like an M1, M2, M4, I don't know what version they're on, but those Macs work great. Apple Silicon. The Intel Macs, which they have not produced for a very long time, those old school Macs, those do not work. And I don't think those will ever work. I think that Steam is winding down support on that platform in general. And I've tried to find ways to support those old Macs, because I have one on my shelf behind me, but it's so crappy and old. I just think that it's not going to be supported anymore. Especially because they don't make them. They're going to be Apple Silicon from now on. Don't you have to pay to publish to Mac? Yes, there is because I have a Mac developer account, and that costs me $100 per year. So to publish on Mac, you need to pay $100 per year, and you also need you need a Mac itself. You can't publish to Mac without a Mac. What? Yeah. It's possible that $100 fee only applies to mobile, but I'm pretty sure it applies to the Mac ecosystem as well, because what it is you're paying for identification. A big problem with sharing software, with getting other people to play your software, is that there are security risks. If I make a game and I distribute it on Steam, how do all of those computers know if my game is safe to run? And the way it's handled is just through a big series of checks and balances. If I posted malware to Steam, there's identification that traces it back to me, so there's liability involved. And it's just a bunch of steps like that. It's crazy, but understandable. It is. That's part of the reason why, like, my Necrozone game isn't on mobile right now. It's been taken down because there's just so many checks and balances for identification. Privacy is a big talking point online right now, and it's something that I'm struggling with like as a publisher, as a developer, because if you want to post your apps on the App Store or Google Play, you have to have your personal information or your business information publicized, like an address and a phone number and an email address. It's a lot. I had a thought, does it do that for Twitch too? It might. It has not been tested. Twitch isn't as bugged as YouTube, so doubt it. So the thing though is the way that Chat works is it's just reading the chat window. It literally is pulling up this web form, and it's checking the messages, and if it sees a new one, then it ready Sammer. If it sees a new one, then it just adds it to the overlay above me. So if it's happening on Twitch, that very well could happen. It just depends on how the Chat app is reading from Twitch's version of this web page, you know. So I'm not really sure. I would have never expected this YouTube thing to crash as badly as it did. So it very well could be a problem on Twitch as well. It does need to be tested. So at some point, it might need to be tested with someone who actually has an audience, because I don't actually have Twitch, affiliate, in order to receive Twitch subs or anything like that. Okay, for the rest of stream, I think I want to work on pixel art, because that's my good fallback. I'm going to get rid of all these things that are open, but I want to talk about my tile sets. The way I've been rendering these tile sets is really clever. I was able to tone down the number of tiles that you need to just these. These are the only tiles that you need to render the cliff sides. And then this is like the cap that sits on top of the cliffs. And it combines these two sprite sheets together to render out the whole level. And even this short flat section that looks like a pancake, it's still using these same tiles. It's using this set of bottom tiles, but then it places this layer over top in a way that extends it downward really far, like this. So this is how the bottom section is generated. It genuinely is just combining the different tile sets together, and in the end, it means I don't have to make as many tiles. Because before, the tiles were very... Let's see, I think I might actually have them. Tiles... Yeah, this is what it looked like before. Is all of the tiles were combined. And there's a problem here. Is what if I had like a snow biome or something else where... Or like what if I wanted this cliffside section to be rendered on top here? I was annoyed that I had all these cliffs, but they only worked with this grass top. That was the only ones that it worked with. So, that's why I decided to separate them out into the I call it the cap. This is the cap, and this is the wall, and they combine together. So the goal is you'll be able to have a variety of walls. So I can have like this striped wall, and then later on I can have this like craggy, rocky wall. That could be another one. And I can mix and match them with like a grass cap or a snow cap, or like this cap, this one's different, or a fully mountain cap. That way I don't have to have different sprite tile sets for every different biome. They're able to be combined a little bit easier, if that makes sense. Y position of cap versus cliff dynamically rendered based on Z. Yes, exactly. That's exactly how it works. And I think that if I show the colliders, it'll be even more clear. Show colliders and hitboxes. Not hitboxes, fields. So, whenever you draw these slabs of elevation in, it creates the green collider. This is the hard wall section. And like, this is the part that I can't walk through. But it also reads what the height of the elevation is. And then that's where the purple box comes in. And the purple box lines up with the cap. So we have the purple box and the green box. The green box kind of lines up with the cliff side, and the purple box kind of lines up with the surface. And the reason there's a difference is because they're treated differently. The purple box is not solid. The purple box is not solid at all. The purple box strictly is the ground. Imagine it as like a flat piece of paper that the player uses to figure out where is the actual surface of this elevation, because we can see the green box, but we don't really know how tall it is, because like what if I change this middle section to be super, super tall? If I go over to ruins and I change this middle section instead of Z-span 2 to be Z-span 4, for example, then we rerun this. We're going to turn back on the colliders and fields. Middle section is taller. It is now an elevation of 4, which means it's basically 4 of these flat sections stacked on top of each other. And that 4 elevation kind of offsets this purple box. That's how it decides where the surface is. Because before, when it was an elevation of 2, this purple box was farther down. It was like farther down here. And that's how I was able to jump up onto it. But now that the elevation is so high, I'm not able to jump high enough to get up onto this box anymore. You can fall off purple but can't jump onto it. Neat. Yes, exactly. Is when I walk off of the purple box. That's how it decides. Is like it's checking to see, is there a purple box under the player? And if there's not, like down here, that's how you're able to fall off this edge. And it kind of pushes you off. I think I can change... I want to change the gravity. Uh-oh! Blueprints 101. Let's check that out. I crashed the game. I was trying to change the gravity and then it crashed the game. It crashed it right here. It says level.gravity. Okay, so I don't think that there's a level.gravity anymore. That's actually the problem. That's the problem, is that I'm still in the process of getting this new level generating system working. And I haven't implemented gravity yet. So this feature just isn't in the new things. It's kind of like semi-solids. If there's one under it, then you can jump down. But if there's one above, then nope. So opposite semi-solids. Yeah. It's a little bit more than that, though. If I go to physics, think of the game like a 3D engine. I think the best way to think of it really is to pretend. Like, this green box is the bottom of the cube, and the purple box is the top of the cube. Pretend that we are in a 3D engine right now. We're not. This is a fully 2D engine. This is a flat image that we're looking at. But we can pretend. Pretend that the purple box is the top of a cube, and the green box is the bottom of a cube. Use your imagination to pretend like this is a 3D box. And with that imagination in mind, the physics engine literally does let's see, diff, z is less than z, z-axis positioning, z factor. So there's some factors in here where it's checking the collider z, the collider z height, and it's using this to determine if there is actual overlap in the z direction. Get z height, z range, z height. What is this in? See, this file is so big, it's hard for me to know where is touching. Somewhere in here, it's connecting to see if there's a z-axis overlap. Platforming times will be really fun. It will. I'm so excited for that. Unignore. This is kind of what it comes down to. Oh, unignore. What the heck? I'm so annoyed by this. There's a specific line I'm looking for, but I can't remember specifically what it's called. But long story short, it does come down to this, where there's the collider z and the z height, and then whenever a collision is calculated, it checks to see if their z positions are lined up in a way that would actually cause a collision. And it does that between mobs, it does that between, like, the balloons and stuff. It's the same. So these green colliders really are the same as these slab colliders, where this balloon has a height as well. Look at that. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I love the balloons. So much fun. Like a rope swing would be cool. That would be cool. I don't know how I would do that, but I totally could. So I think the long story short about the physics system is that it ignores and unignores colliders as needed. Like right now, I am inside of this green box. Like, this green box is solid. Look how solid it is. But I'm passing through it because my z height was high enough. If I'm walking into it when my z is 0, there's a z height collision. But when I jump and I'm high enough, there is no z height collision, and it allows that overlap to happen. And then it changes the player's elevation so that it's higher. And if the elevation is higher, then there's no collision that happens between my collider and the ground collider, where it slightly fades out things as you are standing below. Do you mean like when I stand behind a ledge like this? Because people have suggested that. I think that would be a really good one. If the player is standing behind a ledge like this, it would be cool if there was some kind of like silhouette of the player so you could see where it was. That does this fake Z height thing. Yes, the Mario and Luigi games for Game Boy Advance. Or, sorry, there's the Game Boy Advance one, and then there's the DS games. Those are 2D games that have, like, 3D-ish environments. And that's where I got the series that's playing right now, actually, ironically. That game has I'm going to see if I can find a good video that demonstrates it. But that's going to be... I'm going to have to pull up, like, a long play of it, so give me one moment while I pull this up. I'm going to pull up Mario and Luigi... Superstar Saga Part 8. This is how I always find good gameplay. And I'll do this one. We'll do theater mode. I'm going to turn the audio down. There we go. Yeah, this is actually a really good example. You can see it. You can see them walk behind like that statue and stuff. Is he going to jump up onto this ledge? Yeah, like that. I think this is a perfect example of a game that does this, and this is one of the last like types of series where they kind of needed to. I feel like a lot of games these days just use 3D engines rather than relying on a 2D engine and then coding all the logic themselves. Like, that's cool. The way he slipped through that, that's so awesome. Look at Mario's shadow. His shadow's screwed up. It's like underneath of his body. It's not at his feet. This is a really good game, by the way. I mean, even this scene is kind of... Look, you can see their shadows. They were flying in the air. I don't remember this area. So, like, this area you can actually fly. This is so awesome. I should do this. I should do this in my game. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, this is a turn-based game for Game Boy Advanced, and it's awesome. It's really good. It has some of the best pixel art ever, and it's such a big inspiration in terms of, like, my physics system, because you saw the way that they were, like, in the air, their shadows were on the ground, they have to jump high enough to get over the ledges. It's so clever. Even this scene, this battle scene, you can see their height. It feels kind of 3D to it. There's depth. There's depth to the scene. It's so awesome. I really, really love this game. Puzzle switches, underwater shaders. Underwater shaders is something I could totally do. Looks really fun. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I played through the first one, I played through the second one, and I played through Bowser's Inside Story, but I wasn't able to finish it. I got stuck on a boss. And then there was a few other ones after that one that I didn't try out. The swimming is really interesting. The swimming, I want to do swimming. I think that would be really awesome to do. Because I think I really could do that. It would just be like, set the gravity to be really low, and then make it so that you can jump while you're in the air. I think that would be awesome. I totally should do that. That'd be really cool. Zenith, hi, welcome in. Thank you for being here. So what I was willing to do for the rest of the stream is the pixel art. Love your game. Been hyped for a few years. Thank you. What do you use for my pixel art? I use Sprite. I use this program here. It's really nice. I like it a lot. It's open source, but there's a paid version I use. And Dive in 3rd gen Pokemon comes to mind. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Do you have any ice levels where the little dude slips and slides around? I haven't added that yet, but I could totally do that. Because there is a value specifically for that in the vessel. Let's see if I can find it. Friction. So all I need to do is add a section that says, if standing on an ice field, set friction to half or something. And then you'd start slipping and sliding around. It'd be awesome. Underwater monsters would be fun. Underwater combat would be crazy. I wonder how that would even work. What I was going to show is that I have this cliffside and this grass cap. So this is my first set of like elevation cliffs, but I want to make another batch. Another batch of them using these tiles. So I want to make like where this brick wall is the cliff, and then like these tiles or the ramparts are the cap. I love the look of 2.5D games. Yes, me too. You'd have to add a trident. Oh, that'd be awesome. If there was an underwater section, there definitely should be a trident. That would be awesome. So I'm gonna take these tiles here because the flat ones probably will translate a little bit better. I'm gonna take all of this actually. I'm gonna make this 200 by 200. I'll make it smaller in a second. So we got that. And all I'm doing is I have the cliff tiles, just these that I need to worry about. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this. Okay, I actually have to do this a little bit more custom. The scope creep goes wild. I mean, you're kind of right. I get a lot of good ideas from stream. That's so true. This is all I need. This is all I need. I'm currently working on fleshing things out where tiles, sprites, tiles. I'll call this. What should I call this? I'll call this brick, I guess. Then, what I was saying is that I was thinking about making more tiles where they can blend into each other a little bit better. I have an example of this actually in, if I go to start and load and go to stress. Love Eugenics. I still haven't beaten it. Wolf, how far have you gotten? Because I've been able to get to the third area of Act 2. Both third areas, but I can't beat them. I've gotten so... I've been demoralized. It's so hard. So what I'm thinking about doing is, like, see how these cliff sides... It'd be cool if, like, this cliff blended into this one. Like, imagine if this was all one big winding cliff. Because right now it's 5 separate cliffs. I could add tiles that, like, blend them into each other, like using these. And it would look a lot nicer than having it all split up like that. I haven't played in a while. Played like 50 hours straight and moved on. Me too. That's like let's check what I'm at. I'm at 52 hours. Also, it gave me an achievement that I didn't earn. It gave me the moon. It says complete the crater. I didn't do that. I never completed the crater. I didn't beat it. It never gave me the achievement for beating the zone before it. I think there's actually a bug. The core. Complete the bunker. Oh, that one is... Oh, you know about... Okay, good. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that had that happen. So it's going to take a lot more tiles to handle that sort of situation. Actually, I don't think it's going to require a lot more tiles. But this is working pretty nicely, if I'm being honest. I think I have another map that I wanted to show too. I'm gonna do mesas. Is another one I made. Yeah, look at this. Climbing. Whee! This game is really fun. I like MOONSHIRE. I'm excited for people to like make their own levels or their own obstacle courses, like platforming challenges, and it's gonna be like, whoops, I just crashed the game. But I'm picturing like Minecraft. People make speedrunning challenges all the time with Minecraft, and then it just becomes like a mod can become a whole thing. Like you can really feel the I'm on the edge of my seat. The boomerang minigame in the Steam demo. Thank you. Yeah, I love that minigame too. Yeah, I think that a platform minigame would go so hard. I'm thinking about lots of different ideas. I've been playing, I haven't even mentioned this. Over the past few days, I was playing Saros, which is a new PS5 game that came out, and it's awesome. I don't like the story very much, but I love the gameplay, and it's so cool. It is such a cool game. The bosses are amazing, and there's so many cool moments. And it has like these platforming challenges. There's all these lasers that you get to jump through. It's kind of like bullet hellish almost, where there's all these bullets flying at you. You have to jump around them. It's super, super fun. Man, I love that game so much. It's really cool. I love it a lot. Let's see. I was going to go back to working on the brick. So I got the brick. Now let's make the cap. Saros looks so fun. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm probably going to be able to finish it today. Well, maybe not. It's really hard. Is the problem. I really want to play it. Yeah, I'm kind of sad though because me and my friend played the previous game, Returnal, and we played it co-op. There was online co-op where you could connect with a friend and play through the game together, and that made it so much fun. Like that was one of the best gaming experiences I think I've ever had. It was just so much fun playing through a game like that with my friend. And Saros doesn't have that, which is a bummer. And I think it would be really good with a friend. But it's still really, it's insanely fun, like, on its own. I really, really like it. But once they have co-op, I hope they add it. That'd be really fun. Bleed comes to mind. I'm not familiar with that one. Now I want to take... I need to decide how I want the top of this to look. I think I'm going to use this as, like, the lip. Because that's how these tile sets work, is that I have a lip. I call this the lip of the tile set, because it goes into this bottom tile set a little bit. I'm going to do that here, too, where this is going to act as the lip. Like this. I'm not going to include the ramparts yet. I think I'm going to make that a separate object. Do you still keep Sunflower saved? Yes, I do. Isn't it better to have autosave when you go to a menu or something? I think I'm going to have both. I've thought about that, and that's a really good call out. I think I'm going to have both, because when I personally play a game, I like having the option to click something that says save game, and then it tells me the game has been saved. And then I can turn off the console and then be happy. Saros, the game I've been playing on PS5, does not have that at all. It only has autosave, and it works great. It's flawless. It works great. But when I am done playing the game, I get nervous because I didn't save the game at all. It gives you a little pop-up that's like a little icon when it autosaves, but I don't notice it. You never notice it. So I think I'm going to have both, where it autosaves and also you can save manually. And then I think I want to make it so that both of those files are available. I played Metroid Prime 4 not too long ago, and that game had my favorite save system probably of any game ever. It had, when you started the game, or when you loaded the game to load your save file, it gave you two options. It says, do you want to load from your autosave, or do you want to load from your manual save? It had both of them available always. So I think that's a perfect system, is doing it that way. I think I'm totally going to try something like that. So this lip goes here, and actually the lip is gonna have to look more like this, because I'm using the flat version. I'm the kind of person to save twice in games to make sure it actually saved even when there's autosaves everywhere. Me too. Me too. I have that ingrained in my head. When I used to play Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, I would save, and it would take like 5 minutes to save, because it says like saving a lot of data. And then I would save a second time, and then I would be like, I'm such a fool. There's no need for me to save second time. But I would anyway. And took it from my DP. Yeah, exactly. That game had some of the longest saves of any game I think I've ever played. I can't think of any game that has longer saves than that. I save twice and I'm uncertain if I'm saved. That's like an OCD symptom, kind of. I don't like to I don't want to overuse that word, because it is actually kind of serious and it's hard to deal with. But that is something that people think. They're like, yeah, I saved twice because like it's less stressful to save a second time than this is what people think is speaking personally is when I am closing the game and I save the game. The stress of saving a second time, just in case, is less stressful than the stress that I would get from losing my save file, right? So when I compare those two outcomes, I think, okay, well, do I even want to take the risk? But then it spirals, right? Is like you can't just do everything twice, because then you'll end up doing everything 3 times and then 4 times, and then that's why OCD people like do the counting thing. I do that. It's something that actually is it makes sense, because you are trying to like build a habit, and when you save twice, you're building that habit where you're like, okay, I remember I saved twice, so I definitely saved. And then it kind of spirals out of control. So just be cautious not to like let that get out of control. I don't have to save twice, but when I leave my apartment, I have to check the door is locked twice. I do that too. Yeah, I get you there. Maybe you want to be sure that the game saves. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think I've ever saved. I don't think I've ever lost a save because I forgot to save. I can't remember if that's ever happened before. It's just like the other thing I worry about is I'm worried that I like leave the sink on when I wash my hands. And I like leave the room without turning the sink off. Literally never happened, but I'm still worried about it for some reason. I got about 5 more minutes left. I'm going to try and do as much of this as I can. I think that for this lip version, I'm going to try using opacity. I think instead of using colors here, I'm going to use shadows. And then when the lip overlaps the wall, it's going to have a shadow to it. I think it'll look nice. So I'm going to take this black and do like half black here. And then quarter black, or like quarter opacity. There we go. See, that's going to look really nice, because what's going to happen is that this is going to go over top of the brick wall. It's going to look like... It's going to look like this. Which is okay. I think the lip actually needs to go down farther. I think I underdid it. Yeah, I definitely underdid it. I might actually be able to go down like that. Love2D version 12 still didn't come out yet. Still waiting. They must be making big changes. Yeah, I'm waiting patiently for that as well, because I have kind of a vested interest in it. I'm gonna switch. Sorry, not Minecraft. I did not make Minecraft. I'm gonna switch Moonshire over to Love2D 12 when that's available, and I say I have a vested interest because as soon as Love 12 comes out, my Windfield tutorial on my channel is not going to work anymore. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to make a new tutorial that uses my new physics system. So I'm monitoring when that release happens, because I want to post this new physics system so that it can replace Windfield. I would also like to switch my Love2D game from 11.5 to 12. I don't really know what differences there are going to be, but I always like to stay up to date with the latest version. When a load game menu has like a manual save, then cascading under it like 3 or 4 autosaves. Yeah, I like that too. That's always really nice. Wouldn't it be hard to change your code? In what? It depends on what the changes are. Because you're right, what you're describing is a very, very, very common issue in software development. You have what's called a dependency, and the dependency is changing, and now your code needs to adapt to that dependency. When I say dependency, that means all of this code that you see here, all of every single aspect of my game, all of the code that I write, all of it is dependent on Love2D. Love2D is a dependency. There are other dependencies too. There are my libraries. My code is dependent on Hump. It's dependent on Animate and Baton and JSON. It's dependent on a lot of different files. And if those dependencies change, they get updated to new versions, sometimes that might introduce what's called breaking changes. That's a term that you'll hear a lot in software development, is breaking changes, where some dependency change causes other software changes to, other software features to break. So breaking changes is what you call that. It's like a cascading effect. And that is something that you're going to have to deal with no matter what software you're working on. Like, for example, my code for ChalaChat, the chat software that's rendered above my head, it is dependent on Node. You see it right here, Node version 24, and Electron version 40. And if Node or Electron releases newer versions that I want to convert my ChalaChat project to use those dependencies, it might introduce breaking changes to my code because their versions are a little bit different. But here's the thing. If you're going from Node 24.13 to Node 24.14, it's unlikely that there's going to be breaking changes. Maybe there could be, but it might just be a small version update. Now, if you're jumping from Node 8 to Node version 24, that is a much bigger jump, and that will likely introduce tons of breaking changes to the point where you might need to rewrite everything. So it all just comes down to how big of a jump is it. And from Love 11.5 to Love 12, I suspect that the jump is going to be very small. I don't think it's going to be very big, but they did warn me that they are simplifying some of the physics-related things. So that's why I say that Windfield or the physics systems likely are not going to work anymore. The tutorial on my channel about physics and Windfield probably is not going to be valid anymore after that point. So that's what it comes down to, is that it's a dependency that's likely going to introduce breaking changes to a specific aspect of my code base. Perhaps Moonshire will come earlier when new updates will be good. Who knows? Maybe a dependency will come out that will just like turn the game into an amazing game. I don't think so. I think it just needs more time. I know that the game is taking a long time for me to finish, and it might seem like things are not looking good, but I've never been more optimistic about this project and the game. I'm so excited for it. I think the game's going to be amazing. I think about it and I work on it every single day. I make progress on it every day, and I'm just so excited to have people play it. It's going to be so good when it's ready, and I think it's going to have a lasting impression. I think that the stuff I'm working on is actually really cool and kind of innovative in a way. I was showing the Mario and Luigi Z-axis stuff, and that stuff is definitely innovative. That stuff is really cool. But I'm kind of taking it a little bit further, where I'm using a modern 2D engine on modern hardware, making a 2D 2.5 Z-axis experience. You know, it's unique. I think that's going to be a really fun experience, and it's going to be unique. It's going to set itself apart, and I think it's going to be fun. So on that note, I think I'm going to call it quits for the day. It's been 2 hours, and I'm going to go get my McDonald's Moonshire Monday. Haircut when? I do need a haircut. That is definitely true. I might get one this week. I'm not sure. But I might grow out the back. I might rock the mullet. Who knows? But on that note, I'm going to call it quits. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Baron, Joshua, Wiseham, Wolf, Tijlipa, Vinay, Chemical. Thank you so much for being here. And I will be back next week for yet another Moonshire Monday. Thanks, everyone. Bye.